And here is the final drawings all together.
Well, hello, and welcome back to another video. I would like to start this video off by congratulating our winner, Kevin Hill, on the first Eon Artboard giveaway. So Kevin, you will receive your artboard pack in the mail, and thank you so much to everyone for joining in on that giveaway. And the question for the next giveaway could be hidden somewhere inside one of these upcoming videos. So be sure to watch the videos all the way through in order to find that hidden question. And if this is your first time joining, my name is Jimmy Reyes, and I'm a professional comic book inker. Welcome to my channel. I share tips and techniques on both penciling and comic book inking. In a previous video, I showed how to ink smoke texture using an artist sponge. Today's video, I'm going to show how I pencil smoke texture in line art in a comic book art style, using a graphite pencil. And those are just two examples. Let's get started drawing.
If you'd like to follow along with me in this video, all you need is a pencil and some paper. The tools that I'm using is a sheet of bristle board and a 2H grade lead with a lead holder. I also use a kneaded rubber eraser, an elastometer eraser from Mono Zero, and of course, my imagination. So very quickly for this example, I'm going to draw a chimney. And the chimney doesn't have to be detailed. If you'd like to just practice drawing smoke from a chimney, you can simply just draw a rectangle. And you can also make that rectangle three-dimensional if you like. If not, you can draw a two-dimensional rectangle. So you have to excuse my OCD here while I simply have to draw a detailed chimney, even though it's a practice exercise. I'm putting in all the detail. Now for smoke, you want to observe smoke, and of course you want to be safe. You want to observe smoke online on video. I know I've mentioned before going out and touching textures and experiencing textures, but for smoke you don't want to do that, and I don't recommend that. So go online and simply just type in smoke or chimney smoke or fire smoke, and what you want to do is observe the way that the chimney smoke is blowing. Now several factors affect the way that the smoke will flow. Now the smoke or the steam is going to be lighter than air, so it is going to want to travel vertically straight up. But depending on which direction that the wind is blowing will also dictate how the shape of the smoke is. Now with the wind blowing and the smoke being lighter than air, most of the times it's going to zigzag. It is going to travel upward, and then it is going to travel horizontally left or right. And if you look to the right of your screen, you can see that there is the example of the way that the smoke travels and the way that it moves and bends. So I find the best way for me when I'm laying down my underdrawing or my gesture drawing is to not hold my pencil very tightly and to be a little more looser with the grip on the pencil and the way that my wrist is positioned. And I simply start to draw these clouds, these round shapes that go from curve to the left, and then the round shape will then quickly curve up, and then it curves down, and it curves back to the right. And you want to just kind of scribble a bunch of little loose lines in there. Once you have your underdrawing and it is in the basic shape and the basic direction that you want your smoke to be in, it doesn't have to be the exact final version. This is your underdrawing. What I then do is I take that kneaded rubber eraser and I erase over my pencil drawing very lightly to lighten up the pencil drawing underneath, because I am then going to draw on top of that. I will then draw with a little more pressure and more control. My grip on the pencil will still be a little loose. My wrist is a little more locked at this point. I am now drawing in the lines that I do want to keep. And I will double my lines, and I do make my lines just weight variation, thicken to thin very quickly. The key thing is to remember the direction that you want your smoke to travel. And so I double up on my lines, and you'll notice that I have a mushroom cloud of the smoke, and then above it, I then make the smoke travel right, and then another mushroom on top of that, and it curves in the direction that the wind is making it travel. And at this point in the drawing, you're really just having a lot of fun, and have a lot of fun with it, and just continue making these sort of scribble lines and double your lines quite often, where you want the smoke to then look more as if it is three-dimensional, and giving it just a bit of weight, even though it's lighter than air. If you notice in the example that was up on the screen on the right, was that some of the smoke then travels backwards in the opposite direction that the main smoke is traveling. You have little bits and pieces that veer off, and they stay either stationary while the rest of the smoke is moving, and it makes it appear as if it is traveling in the opposite direction, or it is actually traveling very slowly in the opposite direction. So I like to do that when I draw the smoke. I will then take little pieces and break them off and make it look as if it's traveling in the opposite direction, or maybe the smoke is just staying stationary while the rest of the smoke is traveling. And not to worry if you don't get it right, because smoke doesn't always have the exact form and shape. There are many different forms and shapes to smoke, and there's a lot of factors that will form your smoke. The wind, and of course whether or not it is hot burning smoke, or whether it is just steam, but it is lighter than air, so it is traveling upward. Now we're going to draw the burning smoke. Burning smoke is coming from some type of heat, some type of fire, whether it is a flame or whether it is a volcano and lava. And so this particular smoke is going to be black, because it is going to have ash, and it's going to have soot just floating up into the smoke. So the smoke is going to be darker. So we are going to render this smoke, where the last example we did not render it, we just simply placed the outlines because it was a white smoke. Now once you've done the same basic underdrawing, then what you want to do is you want to take the areas that are going to be in shadow, because even though it is a dark burning smoke, it is a gray smoke, it is still going to have shadow on it, because the smoke is a bit of a marshmallow or mushroom cloud. If you think of marshmallows applied on top of each other, that the one in the foreground that's closer to the light is then going to have light from underneath it, is where the light source is going to be coming from the flame. So the mushroom that is behind that one is going to then be in shadow, because there's going to be a shadow cast from the mushroom in the foreground. Now, if that didn't make a whole lot of sense, it is a bit difficult to explain, but when you draw your mushroom cloud, and then directly behind it, I will offset a shadow right behind that to create the illusion that there is depth in this mushroom cloud, this smoke cloud. Now keep in mind that the smoke cloud is dark, so I am rendering in a bit of thicker lines. I am shading them in just a little bit, and I vary the line weight because it is a soft cloud-like. It is a mushroom, and so you want the lines to bounce. You want them to have quick weight variations from thin to thick, really quick back to thick, and then you want some that just are, the lines are broken and you have just a blob of kind of a circle, but it's not an exact perfect circle because everything is moving. You want it to look as if you've taken a picture and you've captured this smoke in the middle of its movement while it's traveling. So that's the goal, is to create the illusion of movement. And it's the reason why I placed the references up on screen, so that you can visualize and take the information into your visual library and put it into your memory, so that when you are drawing and penciling, you don't have to rely so much on the reference. But when you first start drawing these clouds, you really want a reference, because you want to observe and you want to store that information into your brain, so that when you start to draw, you recall on that information and you're able then to create this drawing, and it appears it's right out of your imagination, but really it's drawing on the information that you've stored because you've studied the information. So you don't want to skip that step. So here I am creating the shadow and the shading, and some of the shading is even underneath the mushroom clouds, because they do have some space underneath them on the sides and some on top, and they're really just connected on the backside to each other. Now we're going to do smoke from a cigar. Now, I don't encourage anyone to go out and smoke, or to stand by somebody who's smoking. That's not exactly healthy. So same thing, you can go online and go into Google and watch some videos, and you get to watch and observe the cigar smoke and the way it travels. And I'm also going to place up some reference directly on the screen, so that you can observe it directly here within this tutorial video, so that we have everything that we need in order to learn how to draw smoke that travels from a cigar. Now, pardon my OCD here, I've got to add detail to this figure. You don't have to. You can simply place a circle or an oval for the head. You can place even a little square if you want for his hand, and then just make the cigar. I tend to want to finish a lot of drawings, even though it's not really necessary for this exercise. The main thing that we need is the cigar. You can simply just draw the cylinder for the cigar, and then we'll practice the smoke directly from there. For me, I tend to like to try to challenge myself to draw something. I wanted to see if I could actually draw a guy holding a cigar directly from memory. I imagined the pose, and I had it visualized in my mind's eye, and I sketched it out. And so here is the smoke coming off the cigar. And the same thing, it wants to travel upward, because the smoke is lighter than air. It's still hot coming off the fire that is burning from the tobacco. So the smoke is traveling upward and off to the right at the same time, because in my imagination, the wind is blowing from left to right. And so if you observe the example on the screen, you can follow that example as well. And it is very similar to the steam or the smoke that was coming out of the chimney, where some of the smoke will then stay stationary and it appears to be traveling backwards, or it stays in one position while the rest of the smoke travels from left to right. And it also travels upward at the same time. So I'm doing something very similar to what I did to the chimney. I'm doubling up my lines. I am also now drawing the lines that I want to keep. I did lighten up my underdrawing, same procedure that I did for the chimney smoke. And so I am now doing little curves and doubling the lines, and just really having a lot of fun with it. Because you want to do the same thing. You want to create the illusion of movement. You want it to show that the smoke is just traveling in all sorts of directions at the same time, upward and off to the right. And you want to create that illusion of weight and movement. And here I go, deciding that I want to finish up a little more drawing. And here I am adding more detail to the drawing. You don't necessarily have to, as I mentioned before, but I enjoy drawing. So as an inker, I don't always get to draw very often, so when I do get the chance to draw, it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. And one of the things that has really helped me out as an inker is inking over some of the top professional artists. and getting to see how they construct their illustration, especially inking over original artwork. I get to see their underdrawings, I get to see their erase marks, and I can then almost reverse engineer their illustration. I can then see their process, or imagine what their process is for constructing their illustration. And that has helped me out so much with my rendering when I do pencil. So inking does help your penciling as well. It also helped me clean up my rendering. It's also helped me with certain types of line weights, and it's also helped me know where an inker can take the illustration and finish it. So there are some areas where I don't completely get detailed on the illustration because I know that an inker can come in and fix that up. I know that I could do these certain effects with ink and I couldn't do it with pencil. So it has helped my pencil illustration quite a bit. So if you are interested in inking, I would recommend, yes, to start inking, especially start inking, even if it's just inking over blue line, over top pencilers, such as David Finch, Mark Vestry, I mean, anybody, whoever it is that you like, Carlos Pacheco, anyone at all that you like, Ivan Reyes, and anybody. There's a lot of really good pencilers out there, and it does help your rendering, it does help your illustration, because you're concentrating over their line work and you're working directly over their pencils, so you can't but help learn from them. And so here's my illustration of a guy smoking a cigar. And there's the elastometer eraser that I like to use, and I broke up some of the lines inside the cigar where the hot and the flame is. Now I decided to do a wind funnel, and I apologize that I lost the footage when I started drawing the female figure. I'm still recording over my desk with a iPhone. Fortunately, the iPhone ran out of storage and I thought it was still recording, and so I wasn't able to capture that video footage. But until I can get a friction arm to hold my DSLR above my desk, then I'll be able to have much more detailed information, and it'll actually be in 1080p or 4K. So when I'm creating the funnel, you simply just draw it in the direction the wind is going to flow. So in your imagination, you think of it twirling around, and it even helps if you want to make the whooshing sound, just with the wind and stuff. Because the more of your imagination that you use and the more creative that you get, the better your illustrations are going to be. It may sound a bit silly, but it really isn't. You really want to be creative, and you really want to be immersed in your drawing. You want to suspend your disbelief. You want to be as engulfed in your imagination as you can. Even for the figure, her hair would be blowing in the direction by this funnel. It's sucking it upright, and her dress is blowing up, and the smoke in the bottom is where the funnel started. So you can see the smoke down below. It's traveling, it's pulling upward, and it's sucking into this funnel. It can be sand, it can be dust, it can be anything. You could add little bits of paper that's flowing up with her, leaves, whatever environment that she's in. I simply just wanted to show a twirling wind effect, and that to create the movement, not only creating movement with the wind. If it's with your figure, you have to also create the movement with her dress. You have to create the movement with her body, her gesture. And thank you again for joining me on another video. If you've enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe, and don't forget to click the bell icon so that you get notified of any new updates, as these videos will have hidden questions inside. We have 2 more giveaways left, so you still got 2 more chances to win. So make sure you watch the videos all the way through, because a question will be inserted into an upcoming video. Also, please share with your friends. Feel free to share on social media, and the more views that we get, the more support, the more that I can make these videos. Well, thanks again. And here is the final drawings all together. Remember, be different, ink outside the box.